Percent means divided by 100. It's that simple. In order to apply this, we'll want to translate other regular everyday English words into their mathematical meanings. Of means multiply or times. And then is, of course, just means equal. So if we want to determine what is 20% of 160 is, we'll just translate that. So the 20% is divided by 100. So we have 20 divided by 100, and then of, a multiply, 160, and then equals. So we simply multiply that out. So 0.2 times 160 equals, and you multiply that out and you get 32. You don't even have to do that in your head. You can come over to Excel and use it as a calculator. Equals 0.2 times 160. So all percent problems are going to have this basic form. We'll be given two of these three numbers, p, x, and y, and we need to determine the third one. So all of them can be expressed in the form that p% of some other number is some other number. So p expressed as percent, remember percent means divided by 100, so we divide by 100. So p% over 100 of x is y. So this is, and then p is expressed as a percent. Let's look at an example from our handout of the other day, class problems, data types with some percent thrown in. Alex and Juana went on an 80-mile canoe trip. On the first day they traveled 24 miles. What percent of the total distance did they canoe? So what percent of the total distance did they canoe? So we're looking for the percent. So we need to figure out what the percent is. So what percent of the total distance? Okay, so over here, what percent of, so of is multiply, of the total distance, which is 80. So of 80 is a multiply by 80. What percent of, so the multiply is of, what percent here of 80 is, which means equals, 24. All right. So now we need to solve this problem. So p over 100 times 80 is 24. So we can write that more compactly like this. So instead of the times symbol for multiply, we can do it like this, is 24. So this is, we can divide 80 by 100, and we'll get 0.8 p equals 24. And so p is equal to 24 over 0.8, which is actually 30. So, and this is expressed as a percent because we've divided by 100. So percent means divide by 100 again. So if you want to know your answer as a percent, that's how it works. Here's another example. 128 is 60% of what number? Okay, so 128 is, so 128 equals 60% of what number? So that's 60% is given. So using our form, p over 100 times some number is some other number. So the p is given because that's the percent. The of what number? Okay, the of is the multiply. What number? We don't know the number. So 60% of what number, of multiply, what number is 128. So there you go. And then we solve this. 60 over 100, 0.6, x equals 128, or x is what? Equals 128 divided by 0.6. Come over here to Excel and figure out what that is using Excel as a calculator. So equals 128 divided by 0.6, 213.333. So we'll get 213.3, and we'll round it to 2 decimal places. Okay. Here's an interesting example. Retailer gets a handbag for $80 and sells it for $100. So the profit is $20. We need to figure out what the markup is. We know that the cost to the retailer is $80, the sale price was $100, and the profit was $20. We want to know the markup, which is the percentage of the cost that is the profit. That is the profit expressed as a percentage of the cost. So we want to know what percent of 80 is 20. So we want to know what percent of 80 is 20.